Our next couple of queries will involve using both tables in the database. So I want you to go to the Create tab and select Query Design. And at this point, please add the customer table, also the salesperson table, and close this, and you can move these things around. Let's say that you want a nice report of the salesperson's last name, first name, and the customer name and the customer city, all in one report. Every salesperson and the customers that they serve, and I would like this to be sorted by the salesperson's last name and the first name, followed by the customer names, and followed by the customer city. Finally, I would also throw the salesperson ID just in case if you want to have what the salesperson ID is. So this query, I'm going to save it as salespersons and their customers. Now, if I run this, I should see the salespersons sorted by their last names. Michael Chang has a couple of customers. So we see 2 entries for Michael Chang. Jane Doe has only 1 customer. Aaron Rodgers has 2. And those 2 customers are shown here. Eleanor Roosevelt has 1. Samson has 2. Smith has 2. So all the salespersons sorted by their last names, and then their customers are shown as a result of this query. So you can go back to the design view. Remember, we brought both these tables, and we brought the salesperson's last name, first name, customer's name, city, and salesperson ID into this query. So now I do want you to save this and close this. The next query that we will create is kind of a report, includes the counts of customers that each salesperson has. So go to the Create tab, select Query Design, and bring both the salesperson table and the customer table. Close this. From the salesperson table, select the last name, double-click the last name, double-click the first name. And the purpose of this query is to find out how many customers each salesperson has. Suppose you are doing a workload study, you are of your salespeople, and you want to find out how many customers each salesperson is responsible for. And this report or this query can help you with that. So the way to do this query is select the last name, first name, and select customer ID. And at this point, I want you to go to this top, once you are in the design bar, go to the top here and click totals. Once you click these totals, you would see group by for salesperson's last name and first name. By default, you'll see group by for customer ID. I do want you to change that group by to count. So if you open this drop down box, you would see the count here. And this way you can see the number of customers that each salesperson has. And I do want you to sort the by salesperson's last name and first name. Let's go back and save this and call this as uh, number of customers for each sales person. And if you run this, you would see that in the previous report we saw the actual customers, but now we'll see that Michael Chang has 2 customers, Jane Doe has 1 customer, and so on and so forth. Once again, the purpose of these counts is for us to know how much workload each salesperson is handling. So you can go back to the design view. The key thing here is that we selected this totals, this sum button at the top. That gave us group by, and we selected count here, and we sorted by ascending in these 2 columns. And the crucial thing is that the count function is selected for customer ID, so that we can get the number of customers that the salesperson has. Now save it and close it. That completes many of our queries, and we would see a couple of more queries and then move on to the reports next. Next, we will construct a couple of more queries. The first query that we would build in Microsoft Access is to find out the number of customers by city. So go to the Create tab, and just like before, we will go to this query design and select the customer table, add the customer table, close this, and from the customer table we'll get the customer city. Remember, the objective is to find out how many customers do we have in each city. So I'll select the customer city here, and then the customer ID, and select these totals at the top. And once we have the totals, we would use group by, and for the customer ID I would select count, and this should do it, right? Because I have the customer city, I'm grouping by customer city, and I'm going to add up the number of customers. And I can sort here ascending by customer city. If you want to sort in the reverse order, you could choose descending. So just for the sake of example, let's choose descending for this query. And I'll go here and save. This is number of customers by city. Click OK. If I run this query, I should see everything in the descending order, Racine to Appleton, and the total number of customers we have in each of those cities, right? So Milwaukee, Madison, Racine have 2 each. Kenosha, Green Bay, Eau Claire, and Appleton have 1 each. So I'm going to save this and close this query. The next query is kind of similar. If you want to find out the average commission rate by gender, let's come back to our running example of gender equity study. You want to find out what's the average commission rate by gender for salespersons. We can do that using a very simple, straightforward query. Go to query design, select salesperson, add, and close. And now we have, from this we would select the gender as the first column. We'll sort by gender, ascending order, and select commission rate as the second column. Once again, click totals at the top. We'll group by here, and we will also select the average commission rate here. So once we have group by, in this drop down box select average, because this is the average commission rate we want to find out by gender. So save this as average commission rate by gender. Click OK, and if I run this, I would see female as having an average commission rate of 9%, and you might see this hash symbols. That means that this I just need to increase the width so I can see the number clearly. So you can drag and drop, you can adjust the size of this each of these values. Then I see that males have an average commission rate of 8.67%, females have an average commission rate of 9% in my data. Depending on the data that you entered, these results could be different. So you don't have to see the exact results that I am seeing in my database. As long as your design view looks like this, you should be fine.